Taylor! I need you to send these pictures to yourself. Trash. A Vertex trash truck took out 2 power lines in the Palm Desert Country Club.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
I'm in, I just didn't hear him. Yes, I can.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
is NBC Palm Springs.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sarah Sanchez.
And I'm Gino Lamont. We begin tonight with the effort to make sure that your vote counts. President Trump traveled to New Jersey on the very day New Jersey's governor says voters will, for the first time, cast ballots for president predominantly by mail. But the president is being criticized for admitting he wants to block billions of dollars in funding for the Postal Service in order to limit mail-in voting. He is now saying he will give Democrats the money they want for the post office if they give him the trimmed-down coronavirus relief package that he wants. The president claims, without citing any evidence, that vote by mail could lead to fraud. Meanwhile, he and the First Lady are now requesting mail-in ballots for Florida. The U.S. Postal Service says it's running out of money, and leaders are warning it could have problems around election time, suggesting anyone wanting to vote by mail should request a ballot early and send it in as soon as possible. Adding to lawmakers' fears, the Postal Service is already deactivating mail sorting machines at processing centers across the country. At least 19 sorting machines, which can process 35,000 pieces of mail per hour, have been dismantled and removed in recent weeks. And postal workers are sounding the alarm. The Washington Post says the agency sent letters to 46 states, including California, saying it can't guarantee all ballots cast by mail for the election will arrive in time to be counted.
Yeah, and adding to this alarm, images here of mailboxes being removed from long-standing locations in Eugene, Oregon. USPS officials say it's a matter of supply and demand. There's a lower demand for mailboxes, so they're removing mailboxes in some areas with multiple boxes to busier locations. We're in the middle of August, and Republicans and Democrats are in a tug of war to make every single vote count for their candidate in November. Traditionally, Democrats benefit from mail-in ballots. Republicans benefit most from in-person voting at polling places, but this year could be different as more people would rather stay home in the face of a pandemic. Olivia Sandusky is live at the La Quinta Post Office with Valley Democrats and Republicans taking on the Postal Service crisis and gets comments from both sides. Olivia.
Yeah, Sarah, the Postal Service certainly has been the topic of discussion between both political parties. I spoke with representatives of both groups today. They tell me everything from voting fraud and safety are main concerns they have when they vote for this upcoming election.
Everyone knows mail-in ballots are a disaster.
The process of voting remains divided down party lines. And as President Trump negotiates USPS funding and pushes for in-person voting, California's Attorney General sent out a tweet saying, undermining the Postal Service threatens to undermine free and fair elections. And the debate over how to vote continues in the Coachella Valley.
In-person voting is the best way.
Local Republicans say nationwide mail-in ballots could lead to voter fraud and other issues.
When you get the ballots, anybody can sign the back, and it also increases them by submitting people who already passed away and everything.
But members of the Democratic headquarters say mail-in voting is a secure and safe option during the pandemic.
There will be locations for what's going to be called lock boxes, where people will be able to drop off their ballots if they're uncomfortable. They will be picked up every day.
Representatives of the nonpartisan group Common Cause say mail ballot fraud has been minimal since the early 2000s.
One national investigation of vote by mail from 2000 to 2012 found 491 cases of mail vote fraud, which might sound like a lot until you realize that over that time period, billions of votes were cast by mail successfully.
The group also says in-person voting should be available for those who rely on it.
There are some people who want to vote in person. There's some communities like the Latino community that votes in person at dramatically higher rates than other communities. So we want to offer accessible and safe in-person voting locations for the folks who want it or the folks who need it. But we also want to make sure that every single voter can access a vote by mail vote if they want one.
And as we have seen some delays in the Postal Service, one important thing to note, as long as your ballot is postmarked by the election day, it will be counted all the way up until November 20th. So 17 days as a buffer for that service. Reporting live in La Quinta, Olivia Sandusky, NBC Palm Springs.
All right, thank you, Olivia. We reached out to NBC Palm Springs political analyst Hank Plant for his take on what this all could mean for election time.
If Mr. Trump can sow doubt into the election results, if Joe Biden wins, and the polls say that he will win, if Mr. Trump can sow doubt into the results, the longer he can do that, the more lawsuits he can file, the longer this election will go on, and it gives him a better chance of doing whatever to retain power.
We'll have more of our conversation with Hank Plant coming up tonight in our 6 o'clock news hour. So no funding right now for the Postal Service. The Senate is in recess through Labor Day. They'll be back on September 7th. New concerns over whether funds for payment protection program aimed to help small businesses has been fairly distributed in the first round of relief. A local small business advocate is suing the Trump administration for fraud. Our Nico Payne spoke with the man behind the lawsuit.
President of the American Small Business League and a small business advocate to the Coachella Valley, Lloyd Chapman, spoke on the disparities on who received these PPP loans and who didn't.
The purpose of the PPP program was to help the 30 million small businesses where most Americans work. And it's a small business stimulus program. And as we've seen in the media, a large percentage of that money, I suspect that the majority, went to some very, very large businesses,
including local businesses like Bighorn Country Club and the San Bernardino Archdiocese, and national political parties on both sides of the aisle, even including Kanye West's fashion line. Chapman also suspects that the lawsuit will find big discrepancies when it comes to minority business owners.
What we're seeing so far is that legitimate small businesses owned by Black and Hispanic individuals have been almost excluded from the program. And here in California, half the population is minority.
Chapman, with a win record of 98.5%, is confident he will win this case.
You can't withhold information under the Freedom of Information Act unless it qualifies for one of the 6 main exemptions. And this information does not qualify one of those exemptions. So I think the first hearing that we have, I could win in the first hearing.
For NBC Palm Springs, Nico Payne.
This battle over the boxes and ballots raises a couple of other important questions. If you want to vote by mail, what should you do now to make sure that your vote is counted? Well, back in June, Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order that will send every registered voter in the state of California a mail-in ballot. Now, that means you do not have to request a mail-in ballot if you're registered to vote. And to make sure that your vote is counted, double check that you're registered to vote at the website on your screen, voterstatus.sosca.gov. And when you do get your mail-in ballot, fill it out early and mail it as soon as you can. You may also want to drop it off at any local polling place on Election Day to make sure your vote counts. Something else to keep in mind, even though Election Day is November 3rd, if there are any slowdowns with the postal system for whatever reason, you'll want to mail in your ballot at least by October 20th. That's 14 days, exactly 2 weeks before actual Election Day. In tonight's You Ask, We Investigate report, you may have heard online rumblings about Mary Pickford Theater in Cathedral City shutting down. So we sent out our Kitty Alvarado to find out if the famed theater is actually shutting down, and she's there live. Kitty, what'd you find out today?
Well, thankfully, the rumors are not true, but the truth is this theater is struggling like most theaters across the country because they've been closed for months, and this is a beloved theater. We caught up with Christian Sesma, a big-time filmmaker who's a big fan of this theater, and he tells us he's really glad this local gem is not closing.
Oh my God, we're back at my happy place.
The Mary Pickford Theater is beloved by many, including Christian Sesma. He's a local filmmaker who's made it to the big time, but this theater in Cathedral City holds a special place in his heart. He even celebrated his birthday here.
Best birthday ever.
There have been rumors on social media this place might be closing for good.
It would be massively heartbreaking. Absolutely. I mean, this is what I've always said has been like my happy place, the movie theaters, and especially Mary Pickford. I'm from here, born and raised here. Obviously, my career started here.
We asked Ted Haynes, the general manager, about the rumors.
No, we have zero plans of closing.
He says the confusion may have started with a national campaign to bring awareness about the financial hardships theaters like his are facing and the need for federal help.
Theaters as a whole have basically been turned off, and And if you don't have income coming in for 5 or 6 months, it's going to financially cripple that business.
Until they can fully open, they're trying to find ways to screen movies and may announce something soon. For now, they're focusing on giving back to the community they love by feeding those in need with food drives on Saturdays, and soon they'll be adding a COVID testing site.
We're part of that exciting and kind of escapism, but that isn't necessarily all that what people need now, and we can't provide that, so we've kind of shifted gears into what we can help provide.
Sesma says he can't wait for the Pickford to open up again because there's nothing like watching a movie in a theater.
Movies have the power to change lives, and it's obviously changed my life. I mean, this is what I do for a living.
Now, the manager also tells me this company also owns a couple other theaters, one in Banning, one in Mammoth, and they are the only theaters in those communities, and they are having a tougher time. So it's hopefully really important that the economy gets going up again and something happens to where they can get some federal funding. And also, you may have seen a clip there of Christian Sesma's new movie. We have to do everything we can to support our local filmmaker, and it's available on demand now. I know what I'll be watching this weekend. Reporting live from Cathedral City, Kitty Alvarado, back to you in the studio.
That's right, Kitty. And you might notice a couple of people familiar to this room make cameos in that movie. I'm just saying, if you want to see pay dirt, that wouldn't be a terrible thing. If you have a story you'd like us to look into, remember, you ask, we investigate. Send us whatever information you can to news@NBCPalmSprings.com, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Is that a shameless plug, Gino?
A little shameless.
Shameless. Now to updates on the ranch fire near Azusa. We brought you coverage last night as breaking news. Well, it's still burning out of control, but it's moving away from homes. It's now in forest. Fire officials have lowered the number of acres burned to 2,500. Evacuation orders are now lifted, and calmer winds have helped firefighters, even though there is zero containment tonight. Not far from the ranch fire is the lake fire. It has burned 11,000 acres, 12% contained. It ripped through a line of properties along Pine Canyon Road near Lake Hughes between Santa Clarita and Palmdale, and still threatens 5,400 homes. And the Apple Fire in Cherry Valley, now 90% contained. It's burned more than 33,000 acres, and right now the countdown to full containment is Monday. That's when crews expect it. We're going to send things over now to Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett with a look at your forecast. Mike, those clouds out there tonight.
Yeah, we got a lot going on in the weather department. If there is one silver lining to high pressure being almost directly on top of you, it is keeping those winds relatively calm tonight. Expecting that diurnal flow to pick up in the evening, but not expecting anything that'll exceed 20-25 miles an hour. Very typical for this time of year. Today, in case you're wondering, was a record breaker. Not only did we break the record at Palm Springs International, we shattered it, and we didn't have to go very far back into the almanac to do that. This time last year was 117 degrees. We exceeded that by 3 today, and some quick math is telling you that we are easily 14 degrees above average. Overnight temperatures as well, once again, not only getting into the upper 80s, but some communities in the Coachella Valley only bottomed out in the lower 90s. That was some record-setting stuff as well. We'll talk about that more coming up tonight at 6. As it stands right now, we have watches and warnings across the entire area. The excessive heat warning kicked in earlier today and has now been extended for the Coachella Valley. So folks along the coast will see that expire on Monday, but for us, we've now been extended out until Wednesday. So we're talking about today, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with the excessive heat warning in place. I'll show you the numbers coming up. The other thing that we got going on, as Sarah just alluded to, we have some moisture that's walking along the mountains. We had forecasted this last night. If you take a look off towards the south and west tonight, you'll see a fairly impressive cumulus cloud forming right over top of the Santa Rosas there. We've had some confirmed rainfall up towards the San Bernardinos today, and as we take a look for some lightning, we are seeing some lightning embedded in there as well. So bottom line, a couple things. I know a lot of folks like to head up to the Bump and Grind Trail, especially after the sun sets tonight. Do be very careful up there. There is the potential for some lightning and some gusty outflow winds there as well. Not to mention the potential for some downpours that could take place up there. So just give it a rest tonight. And of course, if you see any smoke up there, immediately report that to 911. This is the time of year where those lightning strikes can be dry and fire off some of those fires. Take a look at current winds right now. There is some good-ish news. Most everybody is in single digits. We are seeing a gust gust that's picking up right at the airport right now, about 14 to 16 miles an hour. As I mentioned earlier, we'll see our maximum gusts get up to about 20, 25 miles an hour tonight. I don't expect it to be too gusty. It's hot right now, 118, 2 degrees off of that high we achieved earlier. Humidity sitting at 10%. And the next 3 days brought to you by Comfort Air, showing a very uncomfortable weekend. We're going to see high heat and humidity that'll last into next week. I'll show you your entire 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, thanks, Mike. Coming up next, another fire, this one here in the Coachella Valley. You may have seen smoke from this one. A look at what exactly is to blame for this fire. We'll tell you next.
And it's back to school for the second of the Valley's 3 local school districts, and one group of students is starting out with a few extra tools. You're watching NBC Palm Springs. We'll catch up with you after the break.
Well, if you saw smoke in the area of Indio and La Quinta today, it was from 15 palm trees that caught fire at Young's Family Way and Jefferson Street. Firefighters did make quick work of the fire, no damage to any nearby structures, and no word on exactly how these fires started. But you saw 15 palm trees. That's the smoke you would have seen in the East Valley today.
A local story now about people helping people. We like to see these kinds of stories during these times. Every student at Valley View Elementary in Coachella received a backpack filled with school supplies on their first day of back to school. That was today, even though classes are being conducted at home.
I feel happy because they donated it to us, and we had some stuff in the home, but we didn't have that much stuff.
The materials that they need for home, which is good because, you know, you're at ease at what, you know, what's going on. You don't want to go out as much. So this is a good plus that they gave us supplies. That was a very nice gesture.
All of the backpacks were put together and donated by Southwest Church in Indian Wells. We love that. All right, Mike has a look at our forecast and we come back and he keeps telling me it's hot.
It's hot and it's also humid out there. We got some cumulus clouds moving up to about 35,000 feet over the San Bernardinos, tracking some shower potential on Saturday. I'll tell you where you can expect that, and it's going to remain hot. Details on that in your full forecast minutes away. Welcome back. Another live look. This one courtesy of our Agua Caliente Casino Cam. There's a lot going on out there. We have those cumulus clouds that we were tracking going into the commercial break. We've also got a fair bit of humidity out there. And then, of course, we've had some fires today as well. So atmosphere not exactly crystal clear today. Taking a look at your Agua Caliente Casino Cam from downtown Palm Springs, looking off towards the south and west tonight. A little bit more blue sky there, but there's a fairly impressive cumulus cloud that's forming over top of the Santa Rosas as well. I mentioned that earlier. It could be bringing some showers into areas near La Quinta and possibly Palm Desert as we go through the rest of the evening tonight. We'll take a look at that in a moment. We've got high pressure that's almost completely and perfectly on top of us. Right at the same time, monsoonal flow has finally reared its ugly head. You can see that coming up from the south and east there, and that's what's increasing to that humidity. So not only is it hot, it's humid. Of course, it's August in the desert. It's not a surprise for us, but it's still not particularly pleasant. Take a look at current radar right now. There's those clouds that we were talking about earlier, walking along from the Cleveland National Forest up into the Santa Rosas there. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to advance into the lower elevations. I don't expect these to come down into the valley itself. But as I mentioned, if you do have some travel plans along Highway 74 tonight, not out of the realm of possibility to see some showers tonight, and up towards Big Bear as well. We've seen some of those showers. And as we saw earlier, there's some lightning embedded in there as well. Take a look at Futurecast. We put this into motion last night. We'll put it into motion for you again. Looks like on Saturday, we could see some more of that shower activity popping up over the mountains. A little bit more shy than it was today. Saturday and Sunday look like they'll take a little bit of a break there. Or excuse me, Sunday and Monday will take a little bit of a break, and then we will see increased moisture starting again on Tuesday. Temperatures across the region are going to be hot no matter where you go. The only two places that will find anything even remotely close to a respite will be above 5,000 feet, but there'll be those afternoon thunderstorms possible. And then right along the immediate coast, upper 70s to mid 80s, certainly a lot better than it'll be everywhere else. Temperatures are rocking and rolling all the way across the southwest here. So that heat warning kicked in earlier this morning. Initially, it was only going to be in place for us until Monday. National Weather Service in San Diego has now extended that for the Coachella Valley through Wednesday. This is going to be a prolonged heat wave. You can see very clearly as well that even the Los Angeles metro area has a heat advisory in place. They'll be getting into the mid to upper 90s this weekend. Taking a look at the upper atmosphere, you'll continue to see those mid-level and upper-level clouds. We saw them today. We'll see them again on Saturday, and that could fire up some of those storms. Again, things are a bit quieter on Sunday and Monday, and then business picks up again on Tuesday. To add insult to injury, we've got a lot of moisture in the air, so dew points and relative humidity will be riding in those mid 50s and lower 60s on Sunday and Monday. That puts our minimum humidity at about 15 to 20%. So for the evaporative cooler folks, you know how yours works. Some folks do well in this environment. Some folks say, nope, got to switch over to the air conditioner. High pressure will virtually be right on top of us on Saturday. That'll keep temperatures in that 114 to 118 range, slightly cooler than it was today. And there is shower potential along the coast there as well. There'll also be a thin marine layer. It looks more of like an afternoon kind of thing. Then on Sunday, we'll still be very hot. Temperatures will once again bounce up, could put us back into record territory once again, and that flow continues to come in from the southeast, so not only hot, but also humid. It's hot and humid right now, 117 in Thousand Palms and down towards Coachella, 104 in 29 Palms, a comfortable 82 up in Big Bear, but it's 105 in Cabazon and 98 in Idlewild. Temperatures will be very slow to cool tonight. In fact, we will start in the low 90s on Saturday, warm up to that 115 range by 4 p.m. and 117 is where we'll top out in Palm Springs and in Indio, 108 in Joshua Tree, and 83 in Big Bear. Your Comfort Air 7-day forecast shows very little comfort over the next 6 days, but it looks like we will finally dial back below 115 starting next Friday.
coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
Now to continuing coverage on coronavirus, 983 new cases were reported in the county. 2 new deaths were also reported in the county, but they were not from our valley. As we head to break, remember you can always watch any part of this newscast or any other NBC Palm Springs newscast by scanning this QR code. That's what it's called with your smartphone camera. You can watch us on the platform of your choice. We've got a lot of options there. We'll be right back after this.
There's a power outage right now in Palm Desert Country Club. 2,000 people are affected. It's awfully hot out there, and we'll have a live report coming up tonight, 6 o'clock, as people try to figure out a way to stay cool.
We'll see you
at 6.
then.
Yeah.